The money, man, he's got ice in his veins. Get him the ball, he doesn't stop. He just keeps going. Whether it's a tough look or an open look, I think it's going in.
Tyson Walker taking control.
Time for demolition of the penetrating. Crawford making broken places for to get us a payment. He feel that boy, he living hard. She thinking that is amazing. Like King Ty, she got a grand. She wanna amaze.
Bullet. Got it. He is unstoppable.
Tyson Walker, he is bad.
There you see Michigan State's number 2. When everyone knows he can shoot from deep. But guys, I think last year he made more contested layups where he got knocked down than I've seen in a long time. Reminded me of a poor man's Allen Iverson. Tom, Tyson's tireless and fearless. What does his decision in return for one more year mean for Tom Izzo's program?
Well, it's huge, and I'm telling you what, when everybody kind of felt that he was going to come back, but I marvel at this kid last year, not this past season, as good as he was this year. He got my attention last year coming out of Northeastern. He has a focused look on his face. He kind of stays on an even keel. He gets jazzed up sometimes. He gets hyped up in a good way. But man, I always look at things from the rival standpoint. So from a Michigan standpoint, who do I fear on Michigan State? It was Tyson Walker. That's the guy. And then a little bit, and then Joey House maybe behind him. So that's a huge addition. I think Michigan State with Malik Hall and everybody else coming back, it's just they're going to AJ Hogarth. They're going to be terrific. And that guard play is going to be outstanding.
That's a great way to look at it, Tom. I know from a Michigan State perspective, the guy who they really respected at Michigan was Kobe Buffkin.
Yeah,
and he proved that right in that win in Ann Arbor. Darien, how has name, image, and likeness changed the equation for guys like Walker, others who might have been long gone in recent years?
Oh, man, it's changed the game completely because, like everyone talked about when the legislation first went into effect, what they thought would end up happening is you could convince, especially in the game of basketball, guys would probably opt to come back based on NIL opportunities. And, I think even beyond the men's game, it's really prevalent in the women's game. Angel Reese wins the national title, and she says flat out, I'm in no rush to get to WNBA. I'm going to make way more money in college than I'm going to make there. And the same thing could be said on either side. Not to say that some of the guys that come back aren't, professional players. I fully expect Tyson Walker to play in the NBA for a very long time. But you at least get that cushion, for another year, and you can feel comfortable. So it's completely changed the game. It's changed the landscape of the entire tournament. You see the mid-majors and the non-blue bloods that made it deep into the NCAA tournament. You have to say, transfer portal and name, image, and likeness were the reason for that.
Yeah. And you saw Kentucky Player of the Year back this year. You're going to see a Purdue National Player of the Year back next year. Tom, Malik Hall was never quite the same player after his injury last November.
Right.
What would a fully healthy Hall mean if he can play the way he did against Kentucky?
Yeah. And that was the thing about Michigan State last year. They had nagging injuries with a few players, and you see that more and more in basketball. But Malik Hall, him coming back too, as I mentioned in the prior question. I mean, he's got a lot of moxie to him when I think of Malik Hall, and it's not. I mean, they're a veteran team. Michigan State is like the formula now: be older and be experienced, and not be a one and done McDonald All-American maybe. Although they got a little blend of that coming in too, but this is going to be a nice mix of veteran leadership and talent, and then the raw talent coming in.
Tom, let's take a look at the Spartans' top 12 players for next season. What's the greatest challenge for Tom Izzo when everyone plans to play?
Yeah, really. Especially when you have that infamous transfer portal. And I don't know these kids. He knows these kids pretty well, but obviously way better than I do. But of how patient, like Jeremy Fears, I mean, how impatient is he going to be, or patient is he going to be? Same here with Xavier Booker. This is what you have to balance. So you got to be driving guys crazy because if he's not getting enough playing time, then he's going to get disgruntled. I'm not saying these guys are, but I mean, player X, player Y in general. This is what happens. It's happened in Michigan. It's happened in other schools. So, yeah, that's the biggest challenge of balancing all that arsenal and blending that. That's the challenge for Tom Izzo.
Darien, MSU finished fourth, not first, in the Big Ten last season. Why should anyone think Purdue will be worse with its top 6 players back, including a 7'4" National Player of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you can think that they'd be worse. I think that there was maybe a talk of if a couple of those guys would make the jump, if Edey would go ahead and declare. You look at some of their other players as potentially, maybe 1 and dones, 2 and dones, but that's not the Purdue way. So you can't be surprised that their top guys are returning to school. I just think it's everybody else kind of getting better at the same time. It was a really close race at the end. Purdue was kind of running away with the conference for a while, and then everybody kind of closed the gap down. And there was opportunities for multiple teams in the conference to take the crown home. So I think it's more a product of everybody else and how they've gotten better, not necessarily Purdue getting worse.
Tom, the Spartans have a great shot to be among the top 5 teams in the AP preseason top 25. It'd be the 11th time that's happened in the last 25 years. But the only time they were picked number 1, a team that might have won it all, never got to play a tournament game. We'll never know what would have happened without COVID. We'll be right back, and we're going to take a look at the NBA playoffs up next.